We have given our children more than any generation in history. More stuff, more experiences. We spend more time with them than any parents before us. We focus on making them feel seen and heard. We take them into consideration in our family decisions. We have centered our lives around them. And they are the unhappiest, most anxious generation we have ever measured. Ancient wisdom saw this coming, and it knew exactly why. What if the entire direction of modern parenting, all the effort we pour into meeting our children's needs, managing their emotions, making sure they feel good, what if that direction is exactly backwards? What if the path to genuine well-being runs not through receiving, but through giving? Today we go to the root, and what we find there will challenge almost everything our culture tells us about raising happy children. Welcome to the final episode of Raising Leaders series. I'm Efrat Amira. Episode 1 and 2 are linked in the description below. We covered the idea of challenge as a pathway to growth, not trauma, and the nature of the child. Today, we're bringing it all home with 2 ideas that I believe are the most urgent for parents to hear right now: the root of well-being and the shift from needs to contribution. According to modern thought, mental health starts with a functioning brain. It's physical, a matter of wiring, chemical balance, hormonal equilibrium. And so when something goes wrong, we've been taught to go fix it. Therapy to rewire the thinking, medication to rebalance the chemistry, address the problem at the source. Now, for extreme cases, that approach can absolutely be necessary and life-saving. I'm not dismissing that at all. But it cannot explain what we're seeing right now. It cannot explain a mental health crisis of this scale across an entire generation of young people. It cannot be that all these kids, millions of them, simply have a problem with the wiring of their brain. We've also been told that above all else, children need emotional validation, that their well-being comes from feeling seen, heard, and understood. And I don't disagree. I genuinely don't. We absolutely want our children to feel seen. That matters deeply. But it cannot be the end-all be-all of parenting. It cannot be the whole answer, because we've tried that. We have the most emotionally validated, therapeutically supported, seen and heard generation of children in history. And we have seen the results of that. Major depression in teenagers rising every year. Anxiety in young adults skyrocketing. Emergency room visits for self-harm in girls climbing sharply. More therapy, more medication, more validation, and the numbers keep going up. We are doing more and getting worse results. Something deeper is missing, and that's what I want to talk about today. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps and built an entire school of psychology around meaning, identified something he called the existential vacuum. It's a deep sense of emptiness that comes when a person has no clear answer to the question, why does my life matter? Frankl argued that anxiety, depression, and meaningless behavior all flow from this vacuum. People feel it with consumption, with distraction, with the endless scroll, but the vacuum remains. And here is what is striking. In our modern life, we have done almost everything possible to create this vacuum in our children. In the past and across most human civilizations, children grew up embedded in something larger: a religious community, a family legacy, a set of values, a clear sense of responsibility to others. Their identity was built around contribution. They knew who they are, and they mattered to something. Today, we've been so focused on protecting their individuality, meeting their needs, and removing pressure that many children have no idea what they're here for. Ancient wisdom, from the Hebrew prophets to the Stoics to the Eastern traditions, all converged on this. A human being cannot thrive without a sense of purpose, not comfort, not the absence of struggle, purpose. The Tanya, one of the foundational texts of Jewish philosophy, teaches that a person's deepest joy comes not from receiving, but from giving. Not from getting what they want, but from discovering that their actions have weight in the world. This isn't just an idea. Modern psychology confirms it. Studies on meaning and well-being consistently show that people who feel that their lives serve something beyond themselves, who feel needed, who contribute, who belong to something larger, report far greater well-being than those focused on personal pleasure or comfort. We cannot medicate a lack of purpose. We must build it. And the place where it gets built, first and most powerfully, is in the family. What does this mean at home? It means our children need to be needed, not just loved, needed. They need real roles, real responsibilities, real ways to contribute that matter to the family. Not chores as punishment, not help me because I said so, but this family runs because everyone plays their part. You are a part of this. We need you. When a child experiences that their actions genuinely affect the people around them, that their efforts matter, that their care is felt, something lights up in them that no amount of gifts or entertainment can touch. That is the root of real confidence, and it is the root of real well-being. Think about the last time your child did something that contributed to your family or to someone else. Not because they were told to, but because they chose to. What did their face look like after that? Drop a memory in the comments. I would love to read it. So if well-being comes from meaning, and meaning comes from contribution, then the whole direction we've been pointing in needs to flip. And that's exactly where we're going next. Before we go there, I want to mention something for those of you who feel that this kind of wisdom is speaking to something deep in you. I have a community called the Parenting Wisdom Community. It's a space where we go deeper into the concepts of Jewish wisdom and explore how they can be practically implemented in our modern parenting lives. Every week, we take these ancient ideas and ask, what does this actually look like in my home with my child on a regular day? And I want to be clear, this is not for Jewish people or religious people specifically. It's for spiritually oriented parents who want to understand how the human soul actually works, who want to raise children that are not just emotionally healthy, but spiritually healthy. Parents who feel that there is a deeper dimension to parenting that most modern advice simply doesn't reach. If that sounds like you, all the details are in the link below. I would love to have you there. All right, so modern parenting has a quiet operating assumption built into it that our primary job is to meet our children's needs and desires. That if they are satisfied emotionally, physically, socially, then they will flourish. Ancient wisdom offered a completely different frame. Happiness is a byproduct of contribution and service, not consumption. I'm going to repeat that. Happiness is not the goal. Contribution is the practice, and happiness follows. This means that our goal as parents shouldn't be to make our children happy. It should be to help them become the kind of people who create happiness in themselves and in others. Think about two children. The first child has grown up at the center of a child-centric home. Every weekend is planned around what they want to do. Emotions are always accommodated. They have learned gradually that their needs are the organizing principle of family life. This child, when something doesn't go their way, is devastated. Not because they are weak, but because they have been trained to expect the world to meet them. When it doesn't, they have no framework, they have no tools, and they spiral. The second child has grown up knowing that they are part of something larger. They help clear the table, not because they're forced to, but because that's what the family does. They check on a younger sibling. They give up something they want because someone else's need is greater. They have been asked for things, and they have discovered that they can deliver. This child, when something doesn't go their way, is disappointed, but not destroyed, because their identity isn't built on getting. It is built on being someone who can give. This is an inner core that doesn't collapse. How do we actually build this in our homes? Here are a few practical anchors. First, give them real responsibility. And I want to be specific here because there is a difference between asking your child to help you and giving them an actual role. Asking them to help is still centering you. Can you help me set the table? A role is different. A role says this is your role. The table is your job. Every night, not because I asked, but because that's what you bring to the family. It could be setting the table, feeding the pet, taking out the garbage, being in charge of a younger sibling's bedtime story. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that they feel the weight of it. And when they don't do it, something is missing. And when they do it, something works because of them. That feeling that I matter here, my contribution is real, is one of the most powerful things we can give a child. Second, keep the mindset that your child is part of the family, not the center of it, and let that actually shape how you spend your time, especially on weekends. Not every Saturday has to be built around what your child wants to do. Sometimes you go to visit grandparents. Sometimes you spend the morning running errands as a family. Sometimes you prioritize time for you and your partner, and your child adapts. That adaptation, that small act of giving up what they want for the rhythm of the family, is building something in them quietly every single time. The boundaries we set, the activities we choose, the way we spend our time, all of it is guided by this one question. Am I organizing my family around my child, or am I raising my child to be part of the family? Third, teach them to give from their money. This is one of my favorite practices. Each week, if your child gets an allowance, have them set a portion aside, even just a small amount, to give to a cause that they chose, one that they feel connected to. Animals, children in need, the environment, something in the community, anything that speaks to them. This practice does something remarkable. It teaches delayed gratification. It teaches that money is a tool for doing good, not just for getting things. And it gives them a weekly, concrete experience of being someone who gives, not just someone who receives. There's a profound insight shared across Jewish philosophy and logotherapy that I find stunning. Most mental health problems, anxiety, depression, chronic unhappiness, are rooted in excessive self-focus, not in a moral sense, but structurally. When everything in your life is organized around, am I okay? Am I liked? Am I getting what I need? Do I feel good? You are constantly vulnerable because the answers keep changing and you are endlessly dependent on external conditions. But when a person steps out of themselves, when their attention is directed at what they can give, what they can build, what they can contribute, the self-consciousness quiets. A person who is focused on their mission doesn't have time to spiral in self-doubt. We want to raise children who live outward. That is the ancient secret to inner strength. Here's what I want to offer you as a challenge this week. Find one way, just one, to make your child feel genuinely needed in your home or community. Not helpful, needed. Let me know in the comments what you decided. We've come a long way in this series, and I want to bring it all home with something that I believe is the most important reframe of all. A reframe about your role as a parent. Because once you have this, everything else starts to fall into place. Viktor Frankl famously said, "Happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue. It cannot be chased. It cannot be engineered. It cannot be handed to your child on a silver plate, no matter how hard you try." Happiness is what happens as a result of something else, as a result of living with meaning, of contributing, of being connected to something larger than yourself. It is the shadow that follows a life well lived. You don't catch it by running toward it. You earn it by walking in the right direction. And that changes everything about our role as parents. Our job is not to make our children happy. Our job is to raise them into people whose lives naturally produce happiness because they know who they are, because they contribute, because they have a sense of mission that is bigger than their own comfort. That is the role, not to give them a perfect childhood, not to protect them from every hard thing, but to walk ahead of them with a lantern, showing them what it looks like to live with purpose, to give generously, to face difficulty without falling apart. And here is the most beautiful part. When we parent this way, when we stop chasing our children's happiness and start building their character, something unexpected happens. They become happier, not because we gave them more, but because we asked more of them. That is the ancient secret, and it has been waiting here all along. This is what Raising Leaders series was about. On episode 1, we talked about changing our mindset from our children as fragile to anti-fragile, from the greenhouse model to the mountain guide, and from discomfort and understanding that discomfort is the doorway to growth. In episode 2, we talked about the nature of the child, about the idea of individuality over individualism, and of victim versus agent, the idea that your child always has a choice. And in this episode, we talked about the root of well-being, that mental health requires meaning, that happiness is a byproduct of contribution, not consumption. These are not just ideas, they are a framework, a lens. And I hope this shifted something for you the way that it shifted something for me. If this series was valuable, please share it. Pass it on to a parent who is exhausted by modern parenting advice and hungry for something deeper. And if you haven't started from the beginning, I'll link episode 1 of this series on the screen right now. That's where it all starts.